If you're over 50 and you haven't built the wealth you wanted, you might feel like it's too late. You might think you missed your chance. You see people who started investing at 25 and now have millions, and you feel behind. You worry that you don't have enough time left to build real wealth or retire comfortably. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. 50 is not too late. In fact, 50 to 65 is the most powerful wealth building period of your life if you do it right. You're in your peak earning years. Your expenses are probably lower than they were in your 30s and 40s because your kids are grown or nearly grown. You have knowledge and experience that young people don't have. You can make smarter decisions. You can avoid mistakes. And you have 15 years until traditional retirement age, which is more than enough time to build substantial wealth if you're disciplined. I'm Warren Buffett. I'm 94 years old. I didn't make most of my fortune until after I was 50. Yes, I started young and I had a solid base by 50. But the majority of my wealth came from compound interest working on that base over the decades after 50. And I'm going to tell you exactly how to build wealth and potentially retire early if you're over 50. This isn't theory. This is a concrete, actionable plan that works if you execute it. Today, I'm going to tell you how much you need to save, where to invest it, how to accelerate your progress, and how to retire before 65 if that's your goal. Let's get started. First, let me give you a dose of reality. If you're 50 with very little saved, you can't retire at 60 with the lifestyle you have now. The math doesn't work. You need to either save aggressively, work longer, or reduce your retirement expenses. Probably all three, but this doesn't mean you're doomed. It means you need a realistic plan and the discipline to execute it. So let's start with assessment. Where are you now financially? Step 1, calculate your net worth. Add up all assets, retirement accounts, taxable investment accounts, home equity, any other assets. Subtract all debts, mortgage, car loans, credit cards, student loans. The difference is your net worth. Let's say you're 52 and your net worth is $200,000. That's your starting point. Step 2, calculate your annual expenses. Track everything you spend for 3 months, multiply by 4. Let's say you spend $70,000 per year. That's your current lifestyle cost. Step 3, calculate your retirement expense needs. Some expenses will disappear in retirement. You won't be saving for retirement anymore because you're in retirement. You won't be paying payroll taxes. Your commuting costs go away. Your work wardrobe costs go away. But other expenses might increase. Health care before Medicare at 65. Travel and hobbies. Let's assume you need $60,000 per year in retirement to live comfortably. Step 4, calculate how much you need to retire. Use the 4% rule. Take your annual retirement expenses and multiply by 25. If you need $60,000 per year, multiply by 25. That's $1.5 million. You need $1.5 million to retire safely. This is your target. Step 5, calculate the gap. You have $200,000 now. You need $1.5 million. The gap is $1.3 million. You're 52. You want to retire at 65. That's 13 years. You need to build $1.3 million in 13 years. Is this possible? Let's do the math. If you invest $5,500 per month for 13 years and earn 8% annual returns, you'll have about $1.3 million. Total contributions are about $858,000. Investment growth is about $442,000. Combined with your current $200,000 growing at 8% to about $540,000, your total at 65 would be about $1.84 million. Yes, it's possible. But you need to invest $5,500 per month. That's $66,000 per year. If you make $120,000 per year gross, that's about $90,000 net after taxes. Investing $66,000 per year means living on $24,000. That's not realistic if you're currently spending $70,000. So you need to adjust. Either work longer, save more by cutting expenses, or accept a lower retirement standard of living. Let me give you several scenarios with different assumptions so you can see what's realistic for your situation. Scenario 1, aggressive savings and early retirement. You're 50, make $150,000 per year, currently spending $90,000. You want to retire at 60. You have $300,000 saved. You cut your spending to $60,000 per year. This frees up $30,000 per year to save. You also max out your 401k. That's $23,000 per year if you're over 50. Your employer matches 5% of salary. That's $7,500 per year. Total annual savings are $60,500. Invested at 8% for 10 years, this becomes about $970,000. Your current $300,000 grows to about $648,000. Total at age 60 is $1.62 million. Using the 4% rule, you can withdraw about $65,000 per year, but you've cut your spending to $60,000, so this works. You can retire at 60. This scenario requires massive spending cuts and discipline, but it's doable if you're motivated. Scenario 2, moderate savings and traditional retirement at 65. You're 52, make $120,000 per year, currently spending $70,000. You want to retire at 65. You have $200,000 saved. You cut spending to $60,000, freeing up $10,000 per year. You max your 401k at $23,000. Employer matches 5%, that's $6,000. Total annual savings are $39,000. Invested at 8% for 13 years, this becomes about $790,000. Your current $200,000 grows to $540,000. Total at 65 is $1.33 million. At 4% withdrawal, that's about $53,000 per year. You've cut spending to $60,000, so you're $5,000 to $7,000 short. You'll need to supplement with Social Security. If you delay Social Security to 70, you might get $25,000 to $30,000 per year. Combined with your $53,000 from the portfolio, you have $78,000 to $83,000. That's more than your $60,000 need. This works. This scenario requires moderate spending cuts and discipline, but is realistic for many people. Scenario 3, minimal savings and late retirement at 70. You're 55, make $90,000 per year, currently spending $70,000. You have only $100,000 saved. You can't cut spending much. You save $20,000 per year. Employer matches 5%. That's $4,500. Total annual savings are $24,500. Invested at 8% for 15 years until age 70. This becomes about $707,000. Your current $100,000 grows to $317,000. Total at 70 is $1.02 million. At 4%, that's about $41,000 per year, plus Social Security at 70 might be $30,000. Total income is $71,000. You need $70,000. This barely works. This scenario requires working to 70 and tight spending in retirement, but it's better than not retiring at all. These scenarios show you the trade-offs. Aggressive savings lets you retire early. Moderate savings gets you to traditional retirement. Minimal savings means working longer. You choose based on your priorities. But the earlier you start and the more you save, the more options you have. Now, let me tell you where to invest this money, because how you invest is almost as important as how much you invest. If you're over 50, you don't have time to recover from major mistakes. You need to invest intelligently. Here's my recommended allocation for someone in their 50s. 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. The 60% in stocks should be in low-cost index funds, 40% in a total U.S. stock market index fund like VTI, 20% in an international stock index fund like BXUS. This gives you growth potential while reducing risk through diversification. The 40% in bonds should be in short to intermediate term bonds, not long-term bonds. Long-term bonds have too much interest rate risk. Use a total bond market index fund like BND or an intermediate term treasury fund. This provides stability and income. As you age, shift gradually toward more bonds. At age 55, maybe shift to 55% stocks, 45% bonds. At age 60, 50% stocks, 50% bonds. At age 65, 40% stocks, 60% bonds. This gradual shift reduces risk as you approach retirement. Now, why not be more aggressive? Why not go 80 or 90% stocks? Because if a crash happens right before your retirement, you're devastated. Imagine you're 64. planning to retire at 65. You have $1 million, all in stocks. The market crashes 40%. You're now at $600,000. If you retire as planned, you have to sell stocks at depressed prices to live. Those shares you sold can't participate in the recovery. Your retirement is permanently impaired. But if you were 60% stocks, 40% bonds, the same crash drops you to $820,000, less painful. And you can sell bonds for living expenses while waiting for stocks to recover. The bonds provide a cushion that lets you stick with the plan. This is critical in your 50s and 60s. You're balancing growth and safety. Now let me tell you how to accelerate your wealth building beyond just saving and investing. There are several strategies that can dramatically improve your results. Strategy 1, increase your income. In your 50s, you're in your peak earning years. You have experience and expertise that younger workers don't have. Leverage this. Ask for raises. Switch jobs if necessary. Negotiate better compensation. Take on side work or consulting. If you can increase your income by $20,000 per year and save all of it, you add an extra $20,000 per year to your wealth building. Over 10 years at 8% returns, that's $300,000 of additional wealth. Strategy 2, eliminate debt. High interest debt is wealth destruction. If you have credit card debt at 18%, pay it off immediately. Every dollar of debt you eliminate at 18% gives you an 18% guaranteed return, better than any investment. If you have a mortgage, consider paying it off before retirement. Being debt-free in retirement dramatically reduces your expense needs. If you're paying $2,000 per month on a mortgage and you pay it off, you only need $24,000 less per year in retirement. That's $600,000 less you need to save using the 4% rule. Eliminating debt is one of the fastest ways to improve your retirement readiness. Strategy 3, optimize taxes. Max out tax-advantaged accounts, 401k or 403b at work. If you're over 50, you can contribute $23,000 per year. That's tax-deferred growth. If your employer matches, that's free money. Also, max out an HSA if you have a high-deductible health plan. HSAs are triple tax advantaged. Contributions are deductible. Growth is tax-free. Withdrawals for medical expenses are tax-free. You can invest your HSA balance and let it grow for decades. Use it for medical expenses in retirement. If you max your 401k and HSA, you're putting away about $30,000 per year in tax-advantaged accounts. This saves you thousands in taxes annually and accelerates wealth building. Strategy 4, reduce expenses strategically. I'm not talking about cutting out coffee or skipping vacations. I'm talking about big wins. Downsize your home if you have more space than you need. If you're empty nesters in a 4-bedroom house, sell it and buy a 2-bedroom condo. Bank the difference. This could free up $200,000 or more in equity. Eliminate expensive cars. If you're driving a luxury car with a $600 monthly payment, sell it and buy a reliable used car for cash. That's $7,200 per year in savings. Cut subscriptions and services you don't use. Cable, streaming services, gym memberships, subscriptions. Most people pay for things they rarely use. Audit everything. Cut what doesn't add value. This might save $3,000 to $5,000 per year. These big wins, downsizing home and eliminating car payments and cutting waste, could save you $20,000 to $30,000 per year or more. That's transformational for retirement savings. Strategy 5, work longer than planned. Every additional year you work has a triple benefit. First, you're adding another year of savings. If you save $40,000 per year, one more year is $40,000 plus growth. Second, you're giving your existing portfolio another year to compound. At 8%, waiting 1 year increases your portfolio by 8%. On 1 million, that's 80,000. Third, you're reducing the number of years your portfolio needs to fund. If you plan to retire at 65 and live to 90, that's 25 years your portfolio needs to cover. If you work to 67, it's 23 years. You need less total money. Working just 2 extra years can dramatically improve your retirement security. Strategy 6, delay Social Security. You can claim Social Security as early as 62, but for every year you delay until 70, your benefit increases by about 8%. If your full retirement age benefit is $2,000 per month and you claim at 62, you get about $1,400 per month. If you wait until 70, you get about $2,480 per month. That's over $1,000 more per month, $12,000 per year, for the rest of your life. If you live to 90, delaying from 62 to 70 nets you hundreds of thousands more in lifetime benefits. This is why I recommend working to at least 67 or 68 if possible, then delaying Social Security to 70 while using portfolio withdrawals to bridge the gap. Strategy 7, consider geographic arbitrage. If you live in a high cost of living area and you're flexible, move to a lower cost area when you retire. If you're spending $70,000 per year in California or New York, and you move to a state like Tennessee or North Carolina, you might only need $50,000 per year for the same quality of life. That $20,000 annual difference means you need $500,000 less in your portfolio. Or you can retire years earlier. Geographic arbitrage is one of the most powerful yet underutilized wealth building strategies. Now, let me walk you through a detailed year-by-year plan for someone who's 50 and wants to retire at 65. This is a comprehensive roadmap. Age 50 to 52, accumulation and debt elimination phase. Save aggressively, max out 401k and HSA, cut discretionary spending, pay off all non-mortgage debt. Credit cards, car loans, everything. Build emergency fund of 6 months' expenses. This creates a solid foundation. Age 52 to 55, wealth building acceleration phase. Continue maxing retirement accounts. Focus on increasing income through promotions, job changes, or side work. Invest every raise. Begin shifting portfolio from aggressive to moderate, moving from 70% stocks to 65% stocks. Start seriously planning for retirement. Calculate exact numbers. How much do you need? How much will you have? What's the gap? Age 55 to 58, portfolio growth and expense optimization phase. Continue aggressive saving. Optimize big expenses. Consider downsizing home if appropriate. Eliminate car payments. Shift portfolio to 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Max out catch-up contributions. Begin detailed retirement planning. Where will you live? What will you do? How will you spend time? Age 58 to 62, final accumulation and transition planning phase. Continue saving, but begin shifting to more conservative allocation. By 60, you should be at 55% stocks, 45% bonds. Pay off mortgage if possible. Plan healthcare strategy for the gap between retirement and Medicare at 65. Research health insurance options. HSAs become critical here. Age 62 to 65, retirement decision and Social Security optimization. Decide when to actually retire. If your numbers work, you can retire at 62 or 63. If not, work to 65 or beyond. Delay Social Security as long as possible, ideally to 70. Use portfolio withdrawals to cover expenses in the gap. Shift to 40% stocks, 60% bonds by 65. This phased approach gives you clear milestones and actions for each period. Now let me address healthcare, which is the biggest wild card for early retirement before 65. If you retire at 60, you have 5 years until Medicare. Health insurance during this gap is expensive. A couple might pay $20,000 per year or more for health insurance. You need to plan for this. Option 1, COBRA. When you leave your job, you can continue your employer's health insurance for up to 18 months through COBRA. But you pay the full premium plus a small administrative fee. This is expensive but provides continuity. Option 2, health insurance marketplace. Buy insurance through the Affordable Care Act marketplace. Depending on your income, you might qualify for subsidies. If you can keep your income low enough in early retirement by living off Roth withdrawals or taking capital gains strategically, you can get significant subsidies. This requires careful tax planning but can save tens of thousands. Option 3, spouse's insurance. If your spouse is still working and has employer coverage, you might be able to get on their plan. Check if this is allowed and what it costs. Option 4, health sharing ministries. These are not insurance, but cost-sharing arrangements. They're cheaper than insurance, but have limitations. Research carefully. Option 5, part-time work for benefits. Some companies offer health insurance to part-time employees. Working 20 hours per week at a company with benefits could solve your healthcare problem and provide some income. My recommendation is to plan for $20,000 per year in healthcare costs from retirement until Medicare at 65. Build this into your retirement budget. This is one of the biggest obstacles to early retirement, but it's solvable with planning. Now, let me give you a specific case study of someone who successfully built wealth and retired early, starting at 50. I'll call him Robert. Robert was 52 when he decided to get serious about retirement. He was making $110,000 per year as an engineer. He had been spending about $75,000 per year. He had only $250,000 saved in his 401k. He had a mortgage with $200,000 remaining. He had $20,000 in credit card debt. He wanted to retire at 62, 10 years away. Here's what Robert did.
Year 1, age 52, he cut spending from $75,000 to $60,000. This required sacrifice. No more new cars, fewer restaurants, cheaper vacations, but doable.
He used the $15,000 savings to pay off the credit card debt and build a small emergency fund. He maxed his 401k at $23,000 with employer match of $5,500. Total retirement savings were $28,500. He started tracking every expense. Year 2, age 53. He asked for and received a raise from $110,000 to $120,000. He kept spending at $60,000. This gave him extra room to save. He maxed 401k and HSA. Total retirement savings were about $33,000. His portfolio grew from $278,000 to about $340,000. Year 3, age 54. He took on consulting work on weekends, earning an extra $15,000 per year. He saved all of it. He still kept spending at $60,000. Total retirement savings were about $48,000. Portfolio grew to about $430,000. Year 4, age 55. He got another raise to $130,000. He continued consulting, kept spending at $60,000. He started aggressively paying extra on his mortgage. He paid an extra $20,000 toward principal. Total retirement savings were about $35,000 after the mortgage payment. Portfolio grew to about $540,000. Year 5, age 56. He decided to downsize. Sold his 4-bedroom house for $500,000. Paid off the remaining $160,000 mortgage. Bought a nice 2-bedroom condo for $250,000 cash. Netted $90,000 after costs. He invested $70,000 in his taxable account. Kept $20,000 as emergency fund. He was now completely debt-free. No mortgage, no car payment, nothing. His necessary expenses dropped to $45,000 per year. He continued saving $45,000 to $50,000 per year. Portfolio grew to about $700,000, years 6 through 9, age 57 to 60. He continued working, saving $45,000 to $50,000 per year. His portfolio grew steadily. At age 60, he had $1.4 million, year 10, age 61. He decided he had enough. His portfolio was $1.5 million. Using the 4% rule, he could withdraw $60,000 per year. But his expenses were only $45,000 because he had no debt. He had $10,000 cushion. He retired at 61, a year earlier than planned. Robert's story shows what's possible with discipline and smart decisions. He started at 52 with only $250,000. 10 years later, he had $1.5 million and retired early. How? Aggressive saving, income growth, debt elimination, downsizing, consistent investing, and sacrifice. He cut spending. He worked extra. He delayed gratification, but he got what he wanted. Financial freedom. Now, let me tell you what not to do if you're over 50. Mistake 1, taking excessive risks to catch up. Some people realize they're behind and take huge risks. They put money in speculative stocks or crypto or options, hoping to double their money quickly. This almost always fails. They lose what little they have. Don't gamble. Invest in diversified index funds. Accept reasonable returns. Compensate for lost time by saving more, not by taking crazy risks. Mistake 2, not cutting spending. You can't save your way to retirement if you're spending everything you earn. Most people resist cutting spending. They've earned the right to spend on nice things. But if you want to retire, you have to prioritize. Cut the big stuff, downsize the house, eliminate car payments, reduce big discretionary expenses. This is how you free up money to save. Mistake 3, claiming Social Security too early. Claiming at 62 permanently reduces your benefit by about 30% compared to waiting to full retirement age. That's huge. Every month you delay increases your benefit. Work longer. Delay claiming. This significantly improves your retirement security. Mistake 4, not investing aggressively enough. Some people over 50 go too conservative. They put everything in bonds or cash because they're scared of losing money. But bonds and cash return 3 to 4%. Stocks return 10%. Over 15 years, the difference is enormous. You need growth. Stay at least 50% in stocks until you're in your 60s. Mistake 5, ignoring healthcare costs. Healthcare in retirement is expensive. Medicare doesn't cover everything. You need to plan for $10,000 to $15,000 per year in healthcare costs, even with Medicare, more if you retire before 65. Build this into your budget. Mistake 6, not having a retirement plan. You need to know what you'll do in retirement. If you retire without a plan, you'll be bored and depressed. Figure out your purpose. Hobbies, volunteering, part-time work, family time, travel. Have a vision for retirement that excites you. This makes the sacrifices to get there worthwhile. Mistake 7, giving up. Some people over 50 think it's too late. They give up. They resign themselves to working until they die. This is defeatist. You can build wealth at any age. It's harder starting at 50 than 25, but it's possible. Don't give up. Now, let me talk about something that many people over 50 struggle with. The psychological barriers to wealth building at this age. Because the practical strategies I've outlined will only work if you can overcome the mental obstacles that hold most people back. Mental obstacle 1, shame and regret. Many people over 50 feel ashamed that they didn't save more when they were younger. They look back at their 30s and 40s and think about all the money they wasted on things that don't matter now. New cars every few years, big houses they didn't need, expensive vacations they barely remember. They beat themselves up over past mistakes. This shame becomes paralyzing. Instead of taking action now, they wallow in regret. Here's what I want you to understand. The past doesn't matter. You can't change it. Feeling ashamed doesn't help. What matters is what you do starting today. If you're 55 with only $50,000 saved, yes, you should have saved more. But beating yourself up about it is wasted energy. Accept where you are. Forgive yourself. Then get to work building the future you want. I've made plenty of financial mistakes over my lifetime. In the 1950s and 60s, I bought businesses I shouldn't have bought. I held on to textile mills too long. I missed opportunities. But I didn't let those mistakes define me. I learned from them and moved forward. You need to do the same. Mental obstacle 2, comparison to others. When you're over 50 and behind on savings, you compare yourself to people who are ahead. Your college friend who retired at 55 with $3 million, your coworker who's been maxing out their 401k since they were 25. These comparisons are toxic. They make you feel like a failure. They convince you that it's pointless to try because you'll never catch up. Stop comparing yourself to others. You don't know their full situation. Maybe they inherited money. Maybe they got lucky with a stock. Maybe they had advantages you didn't have. More importantly, their situation is irrelevant to yours. Your only comparison should be to your past self. Are you better off today than you were last year? Are you saving more? Have you eliminated debt? Are you making progress toward your goals? If yes, you're winning. If no, adjust and do better. Your journey is your own. Run your own race. Mental obstacle 3, fear of sacrifice. Building wealth after 50 requires sacrifice. You have to cut spending. You have to delay gratification. You have to say no to things you want. This is scary. You've worked hard for decades. You feel like you've earned the right to enjoy life. You don't want to live like a monk for the next 15 years. I understand this feeling. But here's the truth. The sacrifice required is temporary. 10 to 15 years of focused, disciplined saving. Then you get financial freedom for 20 to 30 years of retirement. You're trading a decade of moderate sacrifice for decades of freedom. That's an incredible deal. And the sacrifice doesn't mean you can't enjoy life. You can still take vacations, just cheaper ones. You can still eat out, just less frequently. You can still have hobbies, just ones that don't cost a fortune. You're not giving up joy. You're being strategic about what you spend money on. Choose experiences that matter. Cut expenses that don't add value. This is smart living, not deprivation. Mental obstacle 4, all or nothing thinking. Some people over 50 look at the numbers and think, I need $2 million to retire. I have 100,000. There's no way I can get there. So why bother trying? This all or nothing thinking is destructive. Even if you can't reach your ideal retirement number, getting closer is better than giving up. If you save aggressively for 10 years and end up with 800,000 instead of the 2 million you wanted, you're still much better off than if you'd saved nothing. 800,000 plus Social Security might not give you the retirement of your dreams, but it's a hell of a lot better than relying on Social Security alone. Every dollar you save matters. Every month you delay retirement matters. Every percentage point of return matters. Small improvements compound into meaningful differences. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Mental obstacle 5, complexity paralysis. Some people get overwhelmed by all the decisions involved in retirement planning. Which investments to buy, how much to save, when to retire, when to claim Social Security, whether to pay off the mortgage, healthcare strategies, tax optimization. It feels impossibly complicated, so they freeze and do nothing. Here's the secret. Retirement planning seems complex, but the fundamentals are simple. Spend less than you earn, save the difference, invest in low-cost index funds, avoid debt, work as long as you can, delay Social Security as long as possible. That's 90% of what matters. The other 10%, the optimization and fine-tuning, is nice but not essential. Don't let complexity stop you from doing the basics. Start with simple actions. Open a brokerage account, set up automatic transfers, buy index funds. That's enough to get started. You can refine your strategy as you learn more, but take action now with what you know. Now let me address a question I get constantly from people over 50. Should I invest in real estate? Many people in their 50s think real estate is the answer to their retirement problems. They see all these shows about house flipping and rental properties and Airbnb. They think they can buy properties and generate passive income for retirement. I'm generally skeptical of real estate for people over 50 who are behind on retirement savings. Here's why. First, real estate requires significant capital. If you have 100,000 saved and you use 50,000 for down payment on a rental property, you've just cut your retirement savings in half. That 50,000 in the stock market growing at 8% for 15 years becomes about 158,000. In real estate, you might make more, but you also might make less. You take on concentration risk. All your eggs in one property in one location. Second, real estate is not passive. Tenants call you at 2 in the morning when the toilet breaks. Vacancies mean you're paying the mortgage out of pocket. Property management takes time and money. At 50, you don't have time to learn a new business and deal with the headaches of being a landlord. Third, real estate has high transaction costs. Buying and selling properties costs 6 to 8% in commissions and fees. This eats into returns. Stocks you can trade for almost nothing. Fourth, real estate is illiquid. If you need money, you can sell stocks in seconds. Selling a house takes months. At 50, you need liquidity in case of emergencies. Fifth, real estate returns over long periods are not as good as stocks. Residential real estate has returned about 4 to 6% annually historically. Stocks have returned 10%. Unless you're an expert who can find undervalued properties and add value through renovations, you're better off in stocks. Now, if you're already a real estate investor with experience and expertise, continue what you're doing. But if you're over 50 with limited savings and no real estate experience, don't start now. Stick with simple stock and bond index funds. Less risk, better returns, no toilets to fix at 2 in the morning. Let me also address the question of whether you should invest in individual stocks or just use index funds. My general advice for people over 50 is index funds only. Here's why. First, you don't have time to recover from mistakes. If you pick a stock and it goes to zero, you can't make that money back in time for retirement. Index funds diversify away individual stock risk. Second, stock picking requires research and expertise. Do you have time to read annual reports, understand financial statements, analyze competitive advantages? Most people don't. And without that expertise, you're gambling. Third, index funds have proven track records of beating active managers. 90% of professionals can't beat the index over long periods. Why would you think you can? Fourth, stock picking is emotionally challenging. When a stock you own drops 30%, will you have the discipline to hold or buy more? Or will you panic and sell at the bottom? Most individual investors make emotional mistakes that destroy returns. Index funds make it easier to stay disciplined. The only exception is if you have significant expertise in a particular industry from your career. If you spent 30 years in pharmaceuticals and you deeply understand that industry, maybe you can intelligently pick a few pharmaceutical stocks. But even then, those should be a small part of your portfolio. The core should still be index funds. For 99% of people over 50, 100% index funds is the right answer. Now, let me talk about the importance of creating multiple income streams in retirement. Most people think of retirement income as coming from three sources: Social Security, retirement accounts, and maybe a pension if they're lucky. But the more income sources you have, the more secure your retirement. Here are additional income sources to consider building. Income source one, part-time work. Many retirees work part-time, not because they have to financially, but because they enjoy it. But if you're behind on savings, part-time work can also solve financial problems. If you work 20 hours per week, earning $20 per hour, that's $20,000 per year in additional income. This can cover healthcare costs before Medicare, supplement investment withdrawals. And part-time work often comes with benefits. Some companies offer health insurance to part-time employees. This alone could save you $20,000 per year. Consider what skills from your career could translate to part-time consulting. An accountant can do tax preparation part-time. An engineer can do contract work. A teacher can tutor. Leverage your expertise. Income source two, rental income from downsizing. If you own a large home and downsize in retirement, you might have extra capital. Instead of just investing it all, consider buying a smaller rental property or renting out a room in your new home. If you buy a house with an in-law suite and rent it out for $1,000 per month, that's $12,000 per year in income. Or if you downsize into a condo near a college, you could rent out a bedroom to a graduate student. This provides income and company. Income source three, delayed dividends and interest. As you build your portfolio over your 50s and 60s, focus on dividend-paying stocks and bonds. By retirement, even if your portfolio is only $500,000, if 30% is in dividend stocks yielding 3%, you have $4,500 per year in dividend income. This grows over time as companies increase dividends, plus bond interest. Together, these provide meaningful income without having to sell shares. Income source four, annuities. I'm generally skeptical of annuities because they're expensive and inflexible. But immediate annuities can make sense for people over 50 who are worried about running out of money. You can take a portion of your portfolio, say $200,000, and convert it to an immediate annuity that pays you $1,000 per month for life, guaranteed. This provides a floor of income that you can't outlive. Combined with Social Security, it creates a base of guaranteed income. The rest of your portfolio can stay invested for growth. The key is not relying on just one income source. Build multiple streams. This creates resilience. If one source underperforms, others compensate. Now, let me give you detailed guidance on how to handle the transition into retirement, because the first few years of retirement are critical. If you make mistakes early, you can permanently impair your financial security. This is called sequence of returns risk. Here's how it works. Imagine you retire at 65 with $1 million. You plan to withdraw $40,000 per year, 4%. In year one, the market crashes 40%. Your million becomes $600,000. You still need $40,000 to live on. You sell shares at depressed prices. Your portfolio is now $560,000. In year 2, the market is flat. You withdraw another $40,000 down to $520,000. In year 3, the market finally recovers, going up 30%. Your $520,000 becomes $676,000. But you're still way below where you started. And you've permanently sold shares at low prices that can't participate in future gains. Compare this to someone who retires and the market goes up 20% in year 1. Their million becomes 1.2 million. They withdraw 40,000 down to 1.16 million. Even if the market then crashes 40%, they have 700,000. Much better than the first scenario. Same market returns over 3 years. Different sequence, vastly different outcomes. This is sequence of returns risk. How do you protect against it? Strategy 1, have a cash cushion. When you retire, keep 2 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or short-term bonds. If you need $40,000 per year, keep $80,000 to $120,000 in cash. When the market crashes, spend from this cash cushion instead of selling stocks. Let stocks recover. Replenish the cash cushion when markets are up. This prevents you from selling at the worst times. Strategy 2, be flexible with spending. If you retire and the market crashes in year 1, reduce your spending by 10 to 20%. Instead of withdrawing $40,000, withdraw $35,000. Travel less, eat out less, be frugal. This reduces the amount you have to sell at depressed prices. When the market recovers, resume normal spending. Strategy 3, consider working part-time in the first few years. If you retire at 62 and earn $20,000 per year from part-time work, you might not need to touch your portfolio at all for a few years. Let it grow. Delay withdrawals until your late 60s. This dramatically improves your chances of success. Strategy 4, delay retirement if you retire into a bear market. If you're 64 and planning to retire at 65, but the market crashes, consider working 1 or 2 more years. Let the market recover before you start living off the portfolio. Those extra years of work and portfolio recovery make a huge difference. The first 5 years of retirement are the most vulnerable. If you can navigate them successfully, your odds of never running out of money are very high. But if you encounter a severe bear market early and handle it poorly, you can end up in trouble decades later. Plan for this risk. Now let me talk about the importance of staying healthy as a wealth-building strategy. This might seem unrelated to finance, but your health directly impacts your ability to build wealth after 50. First, good health lets you work longer. If you're healthy and energetic, working to 67 or 68 is realistic. But if you have chronic health problems, you might be forced to retire early. Every year you can keep working is worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands in retirement savings. Second, good health reduces healthcare costs. Healthcare is one of the biggest expenses in retirement. If you're unhealthy, you'll spend more on medical care, prescriptions, procedures. If you're healthy, you spend less. The difference can be $50,000 to $100,000 over retirement. Third, good health improves investment returns. Studies show that declining cognitive function leads to worse investment decisions. Older adults with cognitive decline are more likely to make impulsive decisions, fall for scams, panic during market downturns. Staying mentally sharp through exercise, healthy eating, mental stimulation, all of this protects your portfolio. So what should you do? Prioritize health, exercise regularly, walk, jog, lift weights, whatever you can sustain. Aim for 30 minutes daily. Eat well. Lots of vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains, limit processed foods and sugar, sleep 7 to 8 hours nightly, manage stress, stay socially connected. Challenge your brain with reading, puzzles, learning new skills. If you're over 50 and you want to maximize your wealth-building years, treat your body like the asset it is. Good health is one of the highest return investments you can make. Now let me address taxes in retirement, because this is where many people make expensive mistakes. How you withdraw money from your accounts determines how much you actually get to spend. You might have $1 million saved, but after taxes, your spending power could be $750,000 or $850,000 depending on your withdrawal strategy. Here's what you need to understand. There are 3 types of retirement accounts with different tax treatments. Traditional 401k and IRA. You contributed pre-tax. The money grew tax deferred. When you withdraw in retirement, you pay ordinary income tax on the entire withdrawal. If you're in the 22% tax bracket, a $40,000 withdrawal costs you $8,800 in taxes. You net $31,200 Roth 401k and IRA. You contributed after tax. The money grew tax-free. When you withdraw in retirement, you pay zero taxes. A $40,000 withdrawal gives you $40,000 to spend. Taxable brokerage accounts. You already paid income tax on the contributions. The money grows, and you pay capital gains tax when you sell. Long-term capital gains are taxed at 0, 15, or 20% depending on income, usually lower than ordinary income tax. If you bought a stock for $10,000 and it's now worth $40,000, you have $30,000 of gains. If you sell and you're in the 15% capital gains bracket, you pay $4,500 in taxes. You net $35,500. The optimal withdrawal strategy is to pull from accounts in a tax-efficient order. Here's my recommended withdrawal sequence. Step 1, spend taxable account gains first. Sell long-term holdings from your taxable brokerage account. You'll pay capital gains tax, which is usually lower than income tax. This also reduces your taxable account balance, which reduces required minimum distributions later. Step 2, fill up low tax brackets with traditional IRA or 401k withdrawals. If you're married, filing jointly, the standard deduction is about $29,200. The 10% bracket goes to $23,200. The 12% bracket goes to $94,300. So you can withdraw about $94,000 and pay very low taxes. Withdraw just enough to fill up the 12% bracket. Step 3, fill remaining spending needs from Roth accounts. Roth withdrawals are tax-free and don't count as income. They don't affect your Social Security taxation or Medicare premiums. Use Roth accounts to top off spending without pushing yourself into higher brackets. Step 4, delay required minimum distributions as long as possible. RMDs start at age 73. Once they start, you're forced to withdraw and pay taxes whether you need the money or not. Before RMDs start, draw down traditional accounts strategically to reduce future RMDs. This withdrawal sequencing can save you tens of thousands in taxes over retirement. Let me give you an example. You're 65, retired, married. You need $60,000 per year to live on. You have $400,000 in traditional IRA, $300,000 in Roth IRA, $200,000 in taxable accounts. Poor strategy. Withdraw all $60,000 from traditional IRA. You pay about $6,000 in federal income tax, net $54,000. You need to withdraw more to cover the shortfall. Terrible. Better strategy. Sell long-term holdings from taxable account with $40,000 of capital gains. You pay $6,000 in capital gains tax, net $34,000. Withdraw $29,000 from traditional IRA. This is covered by standard deduction. Zero tax, net $29,000. Withdraw $3,000 from Roth IRA, tax-free. Net $3,000. Total spending is $66,000. Total taxes are $6,000. Net is $60,000. Much better. This strategic withdrawal approach requires planning and discipline, but it can reduce your lifetime tax bill by $50,000 to $100,000. Work with a tax professional or use retirement planning software to optimize your strategy. Now, let me talk about estate planning for people over 50. This is something many people avoid because it feels morbid. But proper estate planning protects your wealth and ensures it goes where you want. Here are the essential estate planning documents everyone over 50 needs. Document 1, will. This specifies who gets your assets when you die. Without a will, state law decides this might not match your wishes. A simple will costs a few $100s from an attorney. Do it. Document 2, revocable living trust. This is more advanced than a will. You transfer assets into the trust during your lifetime. When you die, the trust distributes assets to beneficiaries without going through probate. This saves time, money, and maintains privacy. Trusts cost more to set up, $1,000 to $3,000 typically, but can be worth it if you have significant assets or complex family situations. Document 3, power of attorney for finances. This designates someone to manage your finances if you become incapacitated. Without this, your family has to go to court to get authority to manage your accounts. Expensive and time-consuming. Document 4, healthcare power of attorney and living will. These specify who makes medical decisions for you if you're incapacitated and what types of treatment you want or don't want. Critical to have these in place. Document 5, beneficiary designations. Your retirement accounts and life insurance pay out to designated beneficiaries, not through your will. Make sure these designations are up to date. If you got divorced and didn't update the beneficiary, your ex-spouse gets your 401k. Update these whenever your life circumstances change. Estate planning isn't just for rich people. Everyone needs these basic documents. They protect your family from legal hassles and ensure your wishes are followed. Do this in your 50s. Update it every 5 to 10 years or when major life changes happen. Now, let me give you a detailed month-by-month action plan for your first year of serious wealth building after 50. This gives you concrete steps to take. Month 1, assessment and goal setting. Calculate your net worth. List all assets and debts. Calculate your annual expenses. Figure out how much you need in retirement using the 4% rule. Calculate how much you need to save monthly to hit your goal. Set up a tracking system, a spreadsheet or app to monitor progress. Month 2, cut major expenses. Analyze your spending from the past year. Identify the big categories: housing, transportation, food, entertainment. Find ways to cut each by 10 to 20%. Cancel subscriptions you don't use. Negotiate better rates on insurance and utilities. Plan to downsize or refinance if appropriate. Month 3, debt elimination plan. List all debts. Highest interest first. Create a payoff plan. Pay minimums on everything except the highest interest debt. Throw every extra dollar at that debt. When it's paid off, move to the next highest. This is the debt avalanche method. It saves the most money on interest. Month 4, maximize retirement contributions. Enroll in your employer's 401k if you haven't. Increase contribution to at least 15% of salary. Ideally, max it out at $23,000 if you're over 50. Set up automatic increases so each raise gets saved automatically. Enroll in HSA if you have a high deductible plan. Contribute the max. Month 5, open and fund taxable brokerage account. If you're maxing retirement accounts and still have money to save, open a taxable brokerage account at Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Set up automatic monthly transfers, buy low-cost index funds, VTI and VXUS. Set up automatic dividend reinvestment. Month 6, portfolio rebalancing and allocation check. Review your current investments across all accounts. Are you at the right stock bond allocation for your age? If you're 55, you should be around 60% stocks, 40% bonds. If you're too aggressive or too conservative, rebalance. Sell what's overweight. Buy what's underweight. Month 7, insurance review. Review all insurance policies. Life insurance. Do you have enough? If you have dependents, you need term life insurance equal to 10 times your annual income. If you don't have dependents, you might not need life insurance at all. Disability insurance. If you're still working, you need this. If you become disabled and can't work, disability insurance replaces 60 to 70% of income. Long-term care insurance. If you're in your 50s, this is the time to buy. Premiums are reasonable. Wait until your 60s and it gets expensive. Healthcare insurance. If you're planning to retire before 65, research options now. Understand costs. Month 8, Social Security planning. Create an account at ssa.gov. Review your earnings history. Make sure it's accurate. Review your benefit estimates at different claiming ages. Understand how much you'll get at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70. Decide tentatively when you'll claim based on your health, longevity in your family, and financial needs. Month 9, tax optimization review. Meet with a CPA or tax professional. Review your tax situation. Are you taking advantage of all deductions and credits? Should you do Roth conversions while you're in a lower bracket? Are your investments tax efficient? Should you be using tax loss harvesting in your taxable account? Implement recommended changes. Month 10, estate planning. Meet with an estate planning attorney. Get a will, power of attorney, healthcare directives. Update beneficiary designations on all accounts. Discuss with your family where documents are located and what your wishes are. Month 11, increase income planning. Assess opportunities to increase your income. Could you ask for a raise? What would you need to demonstrate to justify it? Could you change jobs for more money? Update your resume? Start networking? Could you start a side business or consulting practice? Research options? Develop skills needed. Month 12, annual review and next year planning. Review your progress over the past year. How much did you save? Did you hit your goal? What worked? What didn't? Celebrate wins. Adjust what isn't working. Set goals for next year. Increase your savings target. This month-by-month plan gives you structure. Each month, focus on one area. By the end of year one, you've built a solid foundation. Let me close with this. If you're over 50, you're not too late. You're at the beginning of the most powerful wealth-building period of your life. You're in your peak earning years. Your expenses are probably lower than they were. You have experience and knowledge. You can make smart decisions. You have 15 to 20 years to retirement. That's enough time to build substantial wealth if you're disciplined. Here's what you need to do. 1, assess where you are. Calculate net worth and expenses. Figure out how much you need. 2, create a plan. How much you need to save per month. Where will you invest it? When will you retire? 3, cut expenses aggressively. Downsize housing. Eliminate debt. Cut discretionary spending. Free up money to save. 4, increase income. Ask for raises. Change jobs. Take on side work. Maximize earning power. 5, invest intelligently. 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Low-cost index funds. Rebalance annually. Shift gradually to more conservative as you age. 6, maximize tax advantages. Max out 401k and HSA. Use Roth conversions if appropriate. Minimize taxes. 7, eliminate all debt before retirement, especially mortgage. Being debt-free dramatically reduces retirement expenses. 8, delay Social Security to 70 if possible. This maximizes lifetime benefits. 9, plan for health care. Budget $20,000 per year for the gap between retirement and Medicare. 10, work longer if necessary. Every extra year working has massive benefits. 2 more years of work can mean the difference between struggling and thriving in retirement. If you execute these 10 steps with discipline, you can retire comfortably and possibly early, even if you're starting at 50 with little saved. It requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires focus. But it's absolutely possible. Robert did it. Millions of others have done it. You can do it too. Don't give up. Don't resign yourself to working forever. Take control, build a plan, execute it. In 15 years, you can be financially free. The choice is yours. Start today. Assess your situation. Create your plan. Take the first step. Every journey begins with a single step. Take yours now. Your future self will thank you.